Brad Stevens has done it once again as he just got a massive steal for the Boston Celtics and replacing a Maine Celtic in Ron Harper Jr., who got picked up on a two-way deal with another player in Jason Preston, who was previously on a two-way deal in the past. And this has massive implications. We'll also be diving into some other stories as well, with Blake Griffin sharing his congratulations for the Celtics winning a championship and Joe Mazzulla speaking out on the Brandon Jennings call out to Jayson Tatum. We'll be diving into all of that and more on this episode of Celtics Digest. I'm Bruce Veliz, and you guys have been absolutely fantastic, showing your love and support throughout the year, and we're very, very appreciative here on Celtics Digest. But we still want to hit that goal of 6,000 subscribers, and we're super, super close, just under 100 away. So if you are a part of the 72% that watch these videos daily, want to make sure you stay updated on everything revolving around this Boston Celtics team with live streams, post games, and news just like this, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button and let us know what you think on this Celtics team this season down below in the comment section. But without further ado, let's dive into the video hand and make sure to grab a snack. And the first thing we're going to be diving in is Joe Mazzulla giving his 2 cents here for the Boston Celtics. As like I mentioned in the introduction, yesterday's video, we broke down Brandon Jennings calling Jayson Tatum soft and Jayson Tatum's response. And some of those comments in the comment section from even Celtics fans themselves was a really puzzling thing to see, calling Jayson Tatum soft even as a Celtics fan. I don't understand. Jayson Tatum is not soft in any way. The man fights through contact. He plays through the whistle, and he is showing that on the court when he relentlessly plays as a scorer, as an interior finisher, as a defender, and there's no way to call Jayson Tatum soft in any way, Celtics fans. But Joe Mazzulla gave his weight on this scenario as well. As we can see here, he was on the Zolak and Bertrand show, and he referenced back to some coins and talking about this, basically referencing it to some jujitsu stuff. And Joe just basically was just saying some crazy stuff, but was referencing it back to a time before he was on this show where he was talking about coins and owing them and trying to pay people back, all this type of stuff. Joe is hilarious in his connections and doing stuff like this. I thought this was absolutely hilarious. And for Joe Mazzulla to be clapping back at Brandon Jennings is absolutely funny, because we obviously saw Brandon Jennings saying he's going to be at Game 6, Game 7, calling out Jayson Tatum. So I'd love to see if Brandon Jennings was in the building for some of these Celtics playoff games, how Joe Mazzulla would handle this type of situation. Obviously, in this little snippet here, it was obviously said that maybe Joe Mazzulla would like to be on the opposite side of the street as Brandon Jennings, or Brandon Jennings would like to be like that. And I thought that was kind of funny. But let me know your kind of two thoughts on this. It was a little bit of a breakdown from yesterday's video. So if you want to get more detail on the Brandon Jennings call out, go check out that video from yesterday. But we got some more news revolving around this Celtics team. Is like I said, this was very uplifting and something positive to see after obviously that negative news we just talked about with Brandon Jennings calling out Jayson Tatum. And this was obviously Blake Griffin speaking out and talking about his tenure with this Celtics team, and honestly some very solid uplifting words. We all know Blake Griffin played with this team previously a couple of seasons ago, was part of that, bus one squad alongside Luke Cornett, Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser's, kind of those bench guys kind of helping and filling out this team. But unfortunately, Blake was never rewarded with a championship. He was offered to come back with the team last season, but did not want to, wanted to stay out in LA, and decided to ultimately retire, which was for the best of Blake Griffin's career. But he went out, like I said, and spoke about this Celtics team here, and courtesy of Bobby Kravitsky of Sports Illustrated, who does a fantastic job and has a new show over on YouTube having some fantastic guests. Definitely go check that out and follow Bobby over on X or Twitter. But he said this is what Blake Griffin had to say on the 7 p.m. or 7 p.m. minute Brooklyn playing in Boston, saying he loved Boston. He loves those guys. He was so happy for them when they won. He's played in LA for the Clippers. He's played in New York for the Nets. It's a Lakers town. It's a Knicks town. This was the first time that he's really played for a team where it was like everybody in that city is rocking with you. And I went out to dinner 10 times. No check. You know what it means? In Boston, like I said, I'm playing every 5. And I love that for Blake Griffin to really say that here. Obviously appreciating his time in the city in Boston, and Boston obviously repaying it back, like he mentioned, for the 2 teams he did play for in LA and in New York, besides Detroit, obviously, the Clippers and the Knicks. They are, the smaller teams in those cities, so you don't really have that many people going out to see you as much, or if you do, that you're not as popular, you're not the main attractiveness in that city, so it must be, really puzzling to be a superstar playing for the Clippers when everybody still cares about the Lakers, even if they are bad, which is definitely tough. Similar thing with the Knicks and the Nets, but with Boston, like he said, this is the only team in the vicinity, and you got 6 states going up from Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, some people in New York, some people in New Jersey, people all around the Northeast are Celtics fans, and they travel in their packs, and they go out to support this team. So that's what I love to see from Blake Griffin, really recognizing that was key and wishing those guys the best of luck because he had great relationships with those players on and off the court. I wish we could have had Blake Griffin on this roster last season to give him that championship that he ultimately deserved before he retired. But for Blake Griffin and for the best, he did decide to retire. So let me know what you guys think on Blake Griffin's words and how you guys feel about Blake Griffin. Because me personally, as someone who loves Chris Paul and is his favorite player of all time, I loved those Lob City teams with Blake Griffin, and he is one of my favorite players, and I wanted him on the Celtics for a lot longer before he actually ended up in green. But let me know what you thought down below in the comment section. But here we go. Meat and bones of the video, ladies and gentlemen. Let's dive into it as he is a steal. That is right. The Boston Celtics went out and got a massive pickup for this G League team in Jayson Preston. That's right. If you don't know who Jayson Preston is, you are about to know who he is at this very moment. As we got an update here, courtesy of Noah Dowsell. She was the only person that I saw report on this news in 24 hours that it still has overlap. So I want to give her a huge shout out. She does a fantastic job working for CLNS Media, doing a fantastic job on her own individual podcast, now working with Bleacher Report, working with the WNBA. She is on top of her ball and does fantastic coverage for all the teams that she works for. But for the Celtics, she is tapped in, and she got us this news referring to the Celtics trading away the rights for DJ Stewart for the returning player rights of Jayson Preston. And Jayson Preston is a very, very solid player. He's played in the NBA as he was drafted in the second round by the Los Angeles Clippers, played there for a little bit before he was then sent to the Jazz and was on a two-way for them. Now, he ultimately was on the Jazz this season going into the year on a two-way, but suffered an injury, which then resulted him being waived from that two-way contract and then not necessarily having a spot. Therefore, the Celtics were able to pick him up and kind of have this little of rehabilitation with Jayson Preston on this team. And for Preston, if you do not know, like I mentioned, these are from my courtesy of my Twitter or X over if you want to follow me there. But like I mentioned, Jayson Preston was a huge part of Ohio making the NCAA tournament in 2021. And if you don't know about that Ohio team, Jayson Preston was one of those superstars that was there. Jayson Preston has a very, very great story where he basically had to fight to even get onto Ohio, was a low-star recruit, basically worked his way all the way through high school to finally get there and then put them on the map, making that tournament win. And not only did they make the tournament, but they beat Virginia in the first round to secure an upset. Now, obviously, they lost in the second round. They lost to Creighton there, and that's where their Cinderella story kind of ended. But a player like Jayson Preston put Ohio on the map that year, really, really put his name in stock that year, and that's what rose him to being a selection in the draft. He has played in the NBA, like I mentioned, as well. So he's definitely a player to keep an eye on as a potential two-way player for the Celtics in the future. But even if he's not a potential two-way guy for the Celtics or for another team, it's a guy who is fighting for a spot in the G League, which he absolutely deserves due to the fact that he was already on a two-way heading into this season. And I want to follow that up as well by letting you guys know that also for a team, like I mentioned, who just gave up Ron Harper Jr. to the Pistons on a two-way deal, this is a very solid pickup for Maine. And Ron Harper Jr. and Jayson Preston, they kind of give a little bit of differences for their play style. Ron Harper, a little bit more defensively, a little bit bigger guard. Preston is going to be still solid on the defensive side, but a little bit more as a playmaker creator. But what I do see for the Maine Celtics is one thing only, and that they still want to win, they still want to compete, and that the Celtics are trying to find the best talent they can to still continue to bring up in this farm system. We've seen players like the likes of Sam Hauser, Luke Cornett, Namish Keita, all be on these two-way deals and be able to excel themselves into the Celtics rotation. And there's players on this Celtics team now, like J.D. Davidson, Drew Peterson, and Anton Watson, who could still get those, call-ups and, I don't even know how to say the word, but invites up to the main squad, from Maine. But that could happen with this Celtics team. We could see these guys get called up in the future this season, potentially. And a guy like Jayson Preston could be that for the future of the Celtics team. What if one of these two-way guys gets traded for. One of these two-way guys gets a actual guaranteed roster spot from the Celtics. And the Celtics still have a two-way spot open. They could bring a guy like Preston in or still hold Preston in Maine to just see what he can totally develop to. Not going to say that Preston is, an NBA ready guy. He's definitely not that at this very moment, but he has the guy to be the potential to be a diamond in the rough for the Boston Celtics. And I think them striking on that is key because you see so many teams in the G League have not the best development programs or not the best, farm systems, I guess you could say, for the NBA. But the Celtics know what they're doing best. They've already hit on some diamonds in the rough, and they're definitely experimenting with that with another one in Jason Preston. And I would definitely not count him out as a potential piece looking at for the Celtics in the future. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section, what you guys ultimately feel about this Celtics team as we broke down all this news revolving around the squad. They take on the Sacramento Kings tonight back in TD Garden after going on that Western Conference road trip, and we'll have a post game coming to you live following the game. So if you want to make sure to stay up to date on everything, make sure to hit the like, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Let us know your thoughts down below in the comment section. And like I said, you guys have been absolutely fantastic. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a great rest of your day and go Boston Celtics. Peace out, everyone.